Welcome back to our channel. I want to thank you for joining from wherever you're watching us from around the world. We appreciate your time. As you all know, here we talk geostrategic engagement, how Africa navigate this unforgiving relationship. When the United States of America's President, Mr. Donald Trump, took office, he's made it clear. He said who he is. The United States of America is not as strategic as it used to be, but one continent that failed to recognize, to listen to the ropes, and more pay attention to what's happening in Washington is the continent of Africa. The U.S. is putting itself first, its own interest, which is nothing wrong about that. It's only African nations who fail to recognize that it's about time to step up to the plate and put your nationals and citizens first. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the specifics as to the reason why the United States of America is not as strategic as it used to be, and Africa must wake up. We always appreciate your time, folks. We have an exciting episode ahead today because we're going to say it the way it is. You all know we don't hold you hostage. We don't waste your time. We go into the geopolitical issues on how Africa navigate this complex and unforgiving partnership. In this episode, I want to look at the reason why the country of Lesotho is being squeezed. The United States of America's leader, Mr. Donald Trump's policies at the moment has thrown Lesotho under the bus. If you don't know Lesotho, like most people who know where Lesotho is, except the United States of American president who came out clear most recently and said nobody have ever heard about the country of Lesotho. But at the same time, he lambasted the country first with 50% tariff, and later on, he went ahead to bring it to 15%. Make no mistake, Lesotho is in deep trouble. Make no error, folks, geopolitics is a challenging game and Africa does not understand how it plays this. It is embarrassing and shame that the continent of Africa so far has put the African Continental Free Trade Area in the back burner so far because we're not hearing anything anymore. So the United States of America's leader, Mr. Donald Trump policy has squeezed Lesotho beyond recognition. But where do we start? First, let's look at the reason why. The United States of American President Mr. Donald Trump once said he doesn't know Lesotho, and then we'll go into more specifics. Let's play this clip.
This is a story of David and Goliath. President Trump's biggest tariff moves have been against countries of similar stature to the United States, places like China and Europe. But he's also hit some of the smallest economies in the world. Our colleague David Gura has the story of Lesotho, a country out of sight for some, but one that's been hit particularly hard.
The African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of.
So Lesotho economy is in total trouble. Remember, Lesotho have two important export products. Talking about making of jeans and also diamond. But the diamond prices have dropped drastically so far and the country is facing dark days ahead. African countries do not put their own interests first and they fail to recognize when Mr. Donald Trump came to power. He has won. He said who he is. Every other country around the world believed him except the continent of Africa. He's made a number of signals from South Africa, Egypt, other countries across the region talking about immigration and a awful lot of other policies that do not sit well in the geopolitical sense. Talking about lambasting the continent of Africa countries with trade. According to Mr. Trump, that this is the time for the United States of America to show its true colors. Let's play the clip.
Such horrendous imbalances have devastated our industrial base and put our national security at risk. They've ripped us off left and right. But now it's our turn to do the ripping.
The sun is rising over the Tetsani district of Maseru, the capital of Lesotho. The smoke rising from the textile factories signals the workday has begun, but only for the lucky few. Cutting fabric, sewing seams, making clothes for the Western world. Many of these workers make as little as $1,800 a year. Outside the factory, a crowd is building, of locals hoping to find work.
Any kind of job in the factory, they will accept it. maikutlo a ka go ntate Trump a mpare ha o hele Lesotho nne tlhoka la mesebetsi tle phame ka gana.
It's been like this since June, when Lesotho's largest industry began to feel the effects of President Trump's tariffs. First, 50%, among the highest rates in the world at the time.
It wonders me how the continent of Africa's strategic partners still think that the continent of Africa does not have any particular leverage. Yes, that's true, because countries like Lesotho, who fail to recognize that they have to, at this time, diversifying their partnership instead of relying on one partner who most of the time do not have your own interests in mind. Because I wonder how the Lesotho officials are thinking at this stage where, with a high rate of unemployment and a draining economy at the moment, they can't create jobs to meet the demands. Make no mistake, Lesotho have just over 2 million people, and it's so challenging and embarrassing that the Prime Minister came out and thinking that the United States of America decision is a shock. No, Mr. Prime Minister, it's not a shock. It is about time you diversify your economy. Let's play this clip.
It came as a shock to us. Luckily, later on it was revised to 15%.
Sam Matekane is the Prime Minister of Lesotho. He declared a 2-year state of disaster for his country's economy after the tariffs were put in place.
We're still in negotiations with the U.S. government on a further reduction, maybe to 10% or to 0, where we were before. We would appreciate the reduction, and as well as the renewal of AGOA, because AGOA has just come to an end now.
The African Growth and Opportunity Act.
I've said it over and over that at this time, the geopolitical environment has changed in a number of countries, and countries are picking up themselves. Africa, you must open your borders and allow your nationals to walk freely and do business in between. You copy things from the European Union and other countries. European Union is not perfect. They do have their own challenges, but again, they are making some incredible progress in moving forward. But the continent of Africa's transportation network movement around is so difficult. Unnecessary visa restrictions, which makes no sense. I mean, it makes no sense for you to continue to implement colonial borders that do not help you in growing your economy. And that is the reason why these geopolitical partners have sensed the weakness of the African nations, that they cannot allow their nationals and citizens to move freely. Instead of the continent of Africa at this time to focus on new markets, to focus on new partners, whether it's China or Russia or Middle Eastern partners, including India, Brazil, other geopolitical partners you do not agree with in the European Union, to diversify your market, you are still relying on the United States of America at this stage. The US is not as strategic as it used to be. You have to move forward. The fact that you are in negotiation at the moment, you should be able to look for new partners who can offer you the alternative and fill that gap of the lock-in market. Let's play this clip.
Tsepang Makakole is the General Secretary of the Economic Freedom Trade Union.
Very devastating. We are in a bad situation now. Our economy is so ailing. We have a problem because the factory workers are the ones who are contributing a lot in our economy. So if the factories are not engaging a lot of workers, then it means we have a big problem as a country.
What, if anything, is the government doing to improve the economy here?
Not doing anything. We don't see anything yet.
I've said it over and over again that the United States of America is not as strategic as it used to be. Times have changed. The United States is facing incredible challenges with the European Union in regards to tariff back and forth with China, India, the darling of all African countries, especially South Africa, one of Africa's largest economy, has come under tremendous pressure at the moment. I see countries like Lesotho wondering what's actually going on. The continent of Africa was so dependent, so reliant on the African Growth and Opportunity Act. For those of you who don't know what this particular trade arrangement is, it allows countries of the continent of Africa, sub-Saharan, to export goods to the United States of American market at a specific rate. It's kind of a special arrangement. More importantly, African nations were so focused on this trade arrangement. Looking at this particular trade arrangement, again, I wanted to say this. I've spoke about this here over and over. It is too challenging and embarrassing that African countries will rely on a particular trade arrangement which can be struck using a pen. This AGOA of a thing have been used over and over by the United States of America administration, subsequent administration, to strengthen foreign policy in the continent of Africa. We've seen Uganda, the country of Rwanda, and a whole lot of other nations across the Sahel came under tremendous difficulties as a result of this. So the AGOA expired September of this year, and it has not been renewed. And African countries are dreaming that Mr. Donald Trump will renew this. Make no error, Africans do not put their own interests first at this critical time in their history, and they still fail to unite and, more importantly, foster collaboration in trade. The African Growth and Opportunity Act is dead and is gone. Wake up, Africa. Let's play this clip.
AGOA, the African Growth and Opportunity Act, signed in 2000, gave some nations in Africa duty-free access to the U.S. market. That deal expired last month, and while the Trump administration has said it would support a one-year extension, that hasn't happened. The Prime Minister says AGOA's expiration and the higher tariffs have had a crushing effect on Lesotho.
Well, we are hoping for the best. Negotiations are still ongoing, but we are hoping for the best of the best.
Dubbed the denim capital of the world, there are two industries that drive Lesotho's economy, a landlocked country of just over 2 million people surrounded by South Africa. Those industries are diamonds and textiles. Diamond prices have been in free fall since 2022, and that's led to layoffs in Lesotho's mines. Now, it's textiles that have been hit hard. As recently as January, Lesotho's central bank expected the sector to grow in 2025. But by June, it had downgraded its forecast by more than 10 percentage points, saying textile and clothing manufacturing would, quote, shrink significantly due to the negative impact of newly imposed tariffs.
When I listen to geopolitical analysts, government officials, experts around the continent of Africa, they are talking about, especially in the case of Lesotho, they are saying that they received the decision from the United States of America to move from 30% to 50% or the tariff entirely as a shock. No, it's not a shock. It is something that has been in the works for quite some time, because you don't listen to what Donald Trump is saying. Each time he says who he is, you guys don't listen to, because he is who he is, and he is mentioned to you guys. He needs kind of a transactional leader, but again, you have to stand your grounds in a whole lot of areas, because if you go ahead and thinking that the United States of America is going to change, is going to transform all overnight under the Donald Trump administration, you are mistaken. So if I hear officials saying that we are at the moment receiving this information, the decision by the US, as if it is something of a shock. No, it's not a shock. This is beyond even the pandemic. You got to wake up and start making some strategic trade decision and break into new market and stop complaining and look for solution. Let's play this clip.
Afra Expo Textiles is feeling that pressure. Teboho Kabeli is the company's founder.
But at the end of the day, one must specialize on something. If it was a big shock, if you know what happened with COVID, it was something similar to that, because it meant shutting down. And when you shut, you mean 30,000, 40,000 jobs.
Kabeli didn't imagine the American president was talking about him. His factory is one of only a few that's locally owned in Maseru.
The biggest punch was on the foreign direct investors, who are the biggest. And where are their head offices? They are not in Lesotho. It's just their workers here who are producing employment for our people. And therefore, our people are out of work, and now we suffer, you see. But if we could have taken it up to our hands, then we would be now knowledgeable of how do we talk to other markets easily. But we never take that opportunity. The government failed to produce their own.
The unemployment rate in Lesotho in 2024 was 30%. That's the most recent official data collected before the tariff-induced layoffs began.
Experts across the region and some officials are very concerned that a number of countries across the region, instead of moving swiftly to diversify their partnership and looking for alternative at the moment, are crying over visa refusal and the death of AGOA, and more importantly, are looking for partners who cannot deliver to them. The United States of America has made it clear where it stands on trade and other issues. So African countries too must wake up. You got to wake up at this time, because he's not doubting what he said. He said that he's going to make sure that he puts the United States of America first. Wake up and put your countries first, because the geopolitical environment has shifted so drastically, and some countries need to look inward to ensure that they can be competitive at this stage. If your entire economy, talking about the case of Lesotho, is so dependent on export, in a case like this where they produce one of the largest export denim jeans and diamond, which at the moment it's going down the drain like I said earlier, then there is a problem in the country of Lesotho. Lesotho does have other alternatives at the moment, but I think the government have to activate that, because if you sit there and waiting for the United States of America to meet those needs, then you don't know what you are doing at this time. Mr. Donald Trump is clear. He's made it over and over that at this time, it's not going to be business as usual, and the country of Lesotho has failed to recognize that with just over 2 million people, you cannot manage this situation, and you are over-reliant and crying over the country of the United States. It's devastating in regards to your growth and advancement. At this time, Lesotho should look for alternative. Let's roll this clip.
But the government says Lesotho is not competing on a level playing field.
The introduction of the tariffs have put us in disadvantaged positions, because now the tariffs are not equaled. In many countries you'll find that they've got lower tariffs, others have got higher tariffs. So the ones that has got the lower tariff have got advantages over the ones that have got higher tariff, because the business can be able to move from other countries to other countries because of that.
I want to thank you for watching. Let me know what you think regards to the reason why the country of Lesotho should not rely on the United States of America at the moment. It should start looking for other new markets, as experts have mentioned, because at this time, the high rate of unemployment, the challenges in infrastructure and other issues, social concern, and more importantly, the nationals and citizens cannot have jobs that they can meet to their basic needs in their own nation. It's going to be challenging. At this time, the U.S. under Mr. Donald Trump, or even in previous administration, is not as strategic a partner in terms of business and collaboration as it once was. Leave me a comment. I will be looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.